Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. This week I'm going to be going over Willow #1. It's a part of a 3-issue limited series by Marvel Comics, and it's an adaptation of the movie from George Lucas. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own comics. This is Random Access. It's a book I produce every month. It has 12 pages of full-size, full-color comics. And this is the newest issue, 18. And it has the cover by Charles Degolato. Sorry, Charles, if I messed that up and you see this. If that's correct, please let me know. Degolato. Anyway, it's a reprint of issue 3 of Volume 1, Random Access. And it's actually the beginning of the Simborg story. And it has a little biopic or whatever of Charles's. It also has a page of a new story, Fish Mom by Chris Knox, and Xander Crone work from Paul Courtjohn. And this you can find this on patreon.com/Alexander Turbin for $3 a month. Plus you also get a sticker. Or you can go to alexanderturbin.com, and that has all my other stuff. Or you can just message me on Instagram at alexturbin04401 at Instagram. So this is Willow. Excuse me. The movie came out, and this came out in '88, and I was like junior something in high school or whatever. And I really was not into it. It's very odd. I did not really want to go see this. I had bad feelings about it from the very beginning. Some people love this movie. Some people think it's cringy. I'm on the cringy side. I just watched it like last year or something when the TV show came out, and I was thinking about really trying to get into the TV show. And so I was like, well, let's give this movie another shot. And me and my wife watched it, and I just was not into it. Like the first half is, pretty good. I'm okay with that. But then the second half just really kind of loses me. But anyway, to each their own. There were a lot, like I said, there's quite a lot of divisiveness about the movie and whether it's good or not or whatever. But I was like, hey, why not check out this #1 that Marvel produced? Comics adaptations are always a mixed bag. They're either really good or really bad, or some good, some bad. So, I mean, they're just all over the place, just like anything, I guess. But this is written by Joe Duffy and penciled by Bob Hall and inked by Romeo Tinghal. So it starts out. Let's just go through this, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the writing and the story and everything. It it goes surprisingly well with the movie. Actually, when the movie came out, I did read an adaptation of it by Chris Claremont, but I don't think it was an adaptation. I think it was actually a different story in the Willow universe or something like that. But I had loved Chris Claremont from the X-Men, obviously, and I just really did not enjoy the book very much, and maybe that's why I did not really want to go see the movie. Either way, it starts off Wicked Queen. She's got this woman captive who has a baby, and she's like, give me the baby. It's prophesized. I really don't like prophecies. Prophecies, I think, are a weak story mechanic, and I really could do less with prophesizing. I really think that was a bad turn of events in Star Wars when they had the prophecy. And I'm glad that they used it in a way that was a little bit, you didn't know if the prophecy was about Anakin or Luke or what, but I think they used it kind of an okay way because you didn't really know whether or not the prophecy did come true or did not come true. But anyway, you got the evil queen. She's like, give me that baby. It's just a bunch of rags. And so she's the evil queen. The mother says she's been prophesied to kill the evil queen. And so she says, kill the woman, send the death hounds after the baby and find her. So the baby's in a creek because the servant that stole the baby or took the baby away, she put her down on the creek and went down the water, kind of like Moses, I suppose. This is kind of really follows the whole Moses storyline so far. Um, so and then it switches scenes to Willow, who's working the farms, and I'm really glad that it drives me crazy that Zelda isn't the main character of Zelda, and that it's actually Link. And there's so many books and comics and stuff where the main character isn't the name of the book or whatever. It's just kind of I don't know what you call it, a I don't know. Somebody help me out with the phrase I'm looking for. So anyway, the kids come to Willow, who's working in the farm, and they find the baby, or they tell Willow about the baby, and this is very unusual and very good that it follows the story very succinctly, and it also the characters, they don't look exactly like the movie, obviously, because that would be too time consuming and difficult. But you get you get the feel of the characters, especially the size and the proportions of the little people. But also like this, the bad guy here. It's just everything really goes well with the look of the book. Um, so, and then it just goes with the story where the family takes the baby in, and Willow doesn't want the trouble and the hassle of having the baby, but he kind of falls in love with the baby anyway. So there's a festival that's coming up, and they discuss that, and he's trying to be a wizard, and he wants to be the apprentice of the town wizard, I guess. So he's doing some magic, and it kind of goes awry, and they have a bunch of dialogue between the little people and their friends, Willow and his friend, and all of this stuff. And you kind of get a feeling for who's the bad guy and who's the good guys. I think the movie goes a little bit more into detail on who the antagonist and protagonist in the town is, which is kind of interesting. I mean, this is a comic adaptation. You don't really have as much room in the comic as you do a movie, which is very interesting because when you see movie adaptations of a comic, they say, well, we only have a movie. We don't have the time and the space to have all of the things that a comic does. And it kind of goes vice versa. I think it's more the aesthetics and the characters, and you're really trying to create something that the comic or the movie is that it's doing special, and you're trying to create that and recreate that in whatever medium that you're translating it into, and it's just very difficult, and it sometimes takes more space to translate into one medium rather than the other. It's like a book going into a movie. That, I mean, that's a tons of pages, but a comic book and a movie a little bit easier. But anyway, it goes back to this. We're going back to the story, and the Willow. They find out who the baby is, and it's a big person's baby, not a one of the little people. And a death dog um, attacks the town or whatever, looking for the baby, and they kill it. And they decide to send the baby to the big people and try to be rid of this curse of the baby, I guess. And they go through the scenes where they're deciding who's going to bring the baby and where they're going to go and that stuff. And it's very reminiscent of the movie, and it follows the movie very well. One of the great things about this one is that the pacing. Oftentimes, the pacing of a translation from a comic to a movie or vice versa is the pacing of the things. They often just totally mess things up. They want to put more information here or less information there, and they change things. They haven't really changed anything. They've taken out little bits and pieces that were really superfluous to what they're trying to achieve in the story. They might have taken out a little bit of a little bit of dialogue here or a little bit of exposition here there, but it serves the story. It serves the pacing of the story. So they really do a good job in that account. Um, so they decide that Willow and his group of friends and the bad guy actually, who's supposed to be the leader of the group, they're going to the big people to give the baby away and then avoid any kind of trouble that's going to come around across. Um, they make camp and trying to decide where they're going to go. The bad guy of the group wants to just leave the baby, but Willow, who has an attachment to the baby, is like, we're not going to just leave her laying around. They then come across Val Kilmer's character, and really, I kind of thought that his character was going to be a little bit more, I'm not going to say macho, but a little bit more interesting. Maybe it's just that I've seen his character done so many times before that I wasn't really interested in it. I guess maybe I kind of thought it was going to be a Strider character from Lord of the Rings, just a little bit good. I think if he had just been a little bit better in the goodness department, I would have really appreciated him a little bit more. But I mean, that's probably just my own reckoning. So they come across, like I said, Mad Mardigan, and he's kind of a jerk to him at first, and then he kind of tries to weasel his way into them letting him go, and he says he'll take care of the baby, and Willow doesn't believe him. And Willow really wants what is best for the baby. And Mad Mardigan is just kind of a jerk, and he's using every kind of tactic to get them to first give him some water, and then B, let him out. And eventually, and they have this kind of dialogue where Willow talks about how he's a powerful sorcerer, and he has these acorns that can turn things into stone, which it's kind of interesting that in the beginning you're really you're almost led to believe that there is no magic in this Willow universe, and yet as the story progresses and as the movie progresses, you learn that there really is magic in this world, and that people can use it for either good or bad. So we have our break for the video games and stuff. So they're just kind of hanging out with Mad Mardigan, trying to decide what's going on, and then Army goes by, which is very hard to translate into movies, or it was before CGI and stuff. I think some of the best actual army, medieval army kind of stuff was from Excalibur. I remember this scene in the movie, and I was like, that's like 4 or 5 soldiers. It's not really an army. But anyway, an army passes by, and one of them recognizes Mad Mardigan, and they have an exchange, and he doesn't let Mad Mardigan out. They're going off to war to fight the evil queen, and so Mad Mardigan's like, give me a sword, I'll come help you. But he doesn't. The army just kind of leaves and progresses on. Willow and his friends, though, the rest of the little people group, they just leave, and they're like, we're gonna leave you and the baby. We suggest that you just leave the baby with this human, and we're taking off. So, but Willow and his friends stay here, trying to protect the baby and figure out the best way to really protect her, I guess. They do let Mad Mardigan out. He weasels his way into making them let him out of his cage, and he says he's gonna help protect the baby and stuff, but they don't really believe him. But they let him have her anyway. So on their way back, they're attacked by these brownies, which are like fairy folk, and they're running along trying to get away from them, I guess. And no, one of the birds takes the baby, and so they don't leave him with Mad Mardigan. They change their mind, and a bird takes the baby, and Willow's running after her, and the brownies kind of trap them and it's just like Gulliver's Travels. They capture the little people who are actually big people compared to the brownies, which is a really nice weird dichotomy. This is probably, I'm not gonna say the best part of the movie because the effects are really kind of sloppy and not really well done. But story wise, I feel like the dichotomy of the little people being the big people compared to the brownies, and them having the same interactions, um, uh, the same way about them that the humans have with the little people. Like the Mad Mardigan keeps calling Willow. I can't remember who he calls him. He calls him. Let's see. Peck. He calls him Peck, which I guess is some sort of slang for calling a little person that, maybe. Um, so anyway, they come across the fairy princess of the forest, and she's actually good, and she has the brownies let them go, and she gives Willow a staff, a magical staff. So he's becoming, as the story progresses, he's becoming more powerful of a wizard, even though he doesn't have his own powers. He's which he wants. He desperately wants. He does gain some powers and stuff, but really his power is compassion and love for the baby, which is kind of prevalent throughout the movie because he will get out of situations just because that's what he's trying to do, and it's the purity of his heart, which is basically the same thing from Lord of the Rings. That's why Bilbo and all of them have a hard time being corrupted by the ring because they are pure of heart. So they go back to their whole thing, and they get the baby back, and they find out her name is Alora, and she's prophesied to destroy the witch, and so they're going along, and I guess they decide to go home, and then they're attacked by these the evil queen's henchmen or whatever, and or there's a war. I think they stumble across the war. That's what happens. The Daikinis are the humans, so they stumble upon the war, and they kind of make their way through and stuff, and they make their way into the human village, and there's the two brownies are still with them, and they're doing some funny stuff with the cat and stuff. It's an interesting little story, side story, I guess. And here we find Mad Mardigan, who's having relations with a married woman, and she's trying to get him out of there. She's dressing Mad Mardigan in a dress, so that's the supposed to be the funny scene. I guess I just really wasn't into the whole way the movie was done, I guess. So anyway, the husband comes back, and then he sees her, and the wife says that she's her cousin, and so then the evil henchmen come, and they're looking for the baby, and which I don't understand what the real role between her and Mad Mardigan is. This is the daughter of the evil queen, and she is the head of the army of the evil queen. So she's trying to do her mother's bidding, and she finds out that Mad Mardigan is really a man, and Mad Mardigan is like falls instantly in love with her. So, and that's how it ends. The first issue of this three-part retelling of Willow, or adaptation of the Lucasfilm. So, as far as the writing is perfectly good, it's perfectly fine. I have no problem with it at all. Like I said before, it really the pacing is probably the biggest strength of the book, and the writer. And I mean, what are you going to do? You have it written down for you. So to say that the writing is good or bad is kind of hard to do because it's already written for him. He already has the dialogue and the story and the plot and everything. All he's doing is adapting it. But adapting a movie into a comic is not an easy thing. So he could have strayed from it, which I think would probably be the studios and stuff, because I think these came out before the movie, came out. Or they try to get it as close to the same time that they can. I know that the Empire Strikes Back came out way before the movie, and Marvel got into a little bit of trouble with that. I'll probably try to get a copy of that and review that here. But the pacing, like I said, he does a great job with the pacing. He breaks down each scene, each panel, each page into its own specific scene, and it just like it flows really well. So I've got nothing bad to say about the writing and the art. I was surprisingly fond of the art. It looks a little bit like Sal Buscema at points. I think they go a little bit into the standard Savage Sword of Conan look. But I mean, they kind of stray away from that too, because the backgrounds are really nicely detailed. I can't really comment on the coloring because old style comic book coloring, it is what it is. It's all, flat colors and stuff. But it's all really, the art is really nice. I really like like I said, the people don't look exactly like the people. He's not Warwick. I can't remember his name. He doesn't look like him, but he gets the overall ambience. He gets the overall ambience of all of the characters. The bad character, the wizard, they don't look like them, like I said, but he's really got the proportion for the little people. He's got it down pat, which was probably very difficult. The panels are standard Marvel panels comics. Everything is very standard Marvel adaptation stuff. It's kind of like they break away slightly from the standard Marvel fare comic, and they kind of just go into this adaptation rule book. I think they have for what they're doing, and it works. It works in this one. I've seen some not so great adaptations. I think I read the Black Hole adaptation, and I was not impressed at all. And whenever I read a Star Trek adaptation, I'm totally disgusted. But this is really nicely done. Like I said, the proportions are done, the faces and the expressions and everything is really nicely placed. And really, this scene with the brownies actually I like better than the regular movie, because you don't have the horrible special effects kind of putting a downcast on what you're watching, because it's all illustrated stuff. So it's really a nice illustrated fantasy book as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, all of the emotional context is there. All of the characters are moving in a very eloquent way, showing their emotion. So really, I really did enjoy the art. What I would give this as a score, that is the question. Would I go out and buy another Willow? No. So that's my base. But I really like the writing, as far as it does its job. It's an adaptation of the movie, and it's really a good adaptation. It's not silly as far as adding certain things to it. I know in one adaptation of Star Trek, they had one of the characters wearing a cape, and I was just disgusted by that. But I really kind of did enjoy reading this, and that's another factor, another really big factor into my review of the book. So I'm going to give this a 7. I can't really give it more than that, because, like I said, I'm not going to go out and get another Willow comic. But at the same time, I'm not really into the Willow fantasy movies, books, TV show anyway. So I'm coming from it from that point. But I did enjoy reading it. I'm going to give it a 7.5. I thought is very adequately done. So 7.5, Willow, 1988 from Marvel. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell for when I have new videos, which are usually Monday and Thursdays. And please hit a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. And I will just see you guys next time. And thanks again for watching.